Hi. I have some voice. I don't have a whole lot of voice. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so this is gonna be more of a different video than the past ones. Instead of this is gonna be more theological, instructive. I don't know. This video is the beginning of a series on the sacraments, so the sacraments of the Catholic Church. So I'm going to be going through, this is just an introduction of what the sacraments are and everything, and then the next videos are going to be what the sacraments actually we'll break down each of the sacraments. So first, what is a sacrament? A sacrament is a sign of God's saving grace in which we share in God's divine life. In other words, it's an outward sign of an inward grace. What we see, the physical things that we see on the outside, are showing the reality of what's happening on the soul. It's really a sacred the word sacrament means sacred or holy moment. So all this talk about sacraments, so what exactly do the sacraments do for us? Well, the sacraments offer a personal encounter with Christ. They transform us into His image. They help us recognize our human dignity, which our souls give us. It's our rational soul is what makes us uniquely human. They call us to a personal happiness and holiness. They show us how to worship God. We worship God through the sacraments. And they assist us in choosing God through our moral choices. So now that I've talked about sacraments, I'll talk about what the sacraments really, I know I just gave you a whole list of what sacraments give us, but it all boils down to grace. I'm going to tell you what grace is. Grace is God's life and love working in our lives. The sacraments give us the grace we need to get to heaven and to do God's work on earth. And without the Catholic Church, we wouldn't have sacraments. Jesus has instituted the Catholic Church on earth to continue His mission. The sacraments are part of that mission. Without the Church, we wouldn't have sacraments. Without the sacraments, we pretty much wouldn't have grace. Now, where did all this grace come from? This grace came from Jesus' death on the cross. On Jesus' death, when Jesus died on the cross, He won for every person, past, present, and future of the crucifixion, that every person would ever need to get to heaven, or to not, if they chose to accept the grace, then He's totally willing to give that, and that's what the grace is for. And since there's so many people and we all mess up so much, me totally included, it's probably why He had to suffer so much and so hard. Now, there are two kinds of graces. There's actual grace and there's sanctifying grace. Actual grace is the grace we need in the moment, to say yes to God's will, or God's will for that moment, or say no to sin. And then sanctifying grace is God's life in our souls. It's what the sacraments give us, and that's what we lose if we commit a mortal sin. So I keep going on and on about sacraments and grace. Well, what are the sacraments? Well, there are 7 sacraments, and I will name them now. We have baptism, we have confirmation, we have Holy Eucharist, we have confession, aka CPR, we have anointing of the sick, we have holy orders, and we have matrimony. And each of the sacraments that I'm talking about fits into one of 3 categories. So there are sacraments of initiation. These sacraments bring us into the church. Baptism, the first sacrament that we need before we can receive any other sacrament. Confirmations, it deepens our relationship with the church. It makes our baptismal promises even greater. Holy Eucharist brings us into full communion with the rest of the church. Sacraments of healing, they heal our souls. There's confession / penance / reconciliation. I heard it called CPR once. It heals our souls on a day-to-day basis. And anointing of the sick, it gives us the strength to make it through this illness or a surgery, or if we're dying, then to go on to the next life. And the sacraments of service, it's a life of service to others. There's holy orders, which is for men to serve the church and help others get to heaven. And matrimony or marriage, like a man and a woman getting married to have kids and to serve their kids, to serve each other. To receive the sacraments, you need a proper disposition, correct preparation, to be a baptized Catholic, except for baptism, obviously. The proper spiritual condition, so like with most of them except for confession and anointing the sick, you shouldn't have any mortal sin on your soul. A spirit of humility, we know our place, we're not like we're better than God. And a desire to receive the promised graces. We actually want what God has to offer. Now in every video, I'm going to use the same 3 videos, or almost every video. It's matter, form, and minister. So the matter is the physical thing that we see, whether it's like water for baptism or the chrism for confirmation or whatever, the physical thing that we see, the physical material thing we see on the outside. The form is the prayers and actions that you have to do in order to make the sacrament valid. So it's the prayer, the Trinitarian blessing for the baptism. I baptize you in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And then the minister, it's either a priest, deacon, or bishop. Baptism has an exception, which I'll talk about later. It's either a priest, deacon, or bishop. It's the person who can administer the sacraments. And so bishop can do all 7. He has the fullness of the fullness of apostolic succession, so he can do all 7. Priest can do 5. He cannot celebrate holy orders. He can celebrate confirmation with a dispensation. Like, he has to get permission from the bishop, but most of the time it's just 5. And I'll talk about that later. And then the deacon can celebrate 2. He can celebrate matrimony. He can celebrate baptism. So that's just a little taste of what's going to happen. There's going to be 7 more videos after this one for each of the sacraments. And I hope y'all will come back and watch them, because I'm really excited about making these videos. Sorry my voice was raspy. I've been fighting a cold for the past week. And it's very annoying. It's very annoying. I hate it. I'm sure you hate it too. Anyway, so come back. I hope you enjoyed this video.